Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about Jigsaw, the 2017 movie. I've avoided watching Jigsaw, Spiral, and Saw X because after Saw 3D, I was done. I was literally done with this franchise because the only two good movies in my opinion are the first two. The third movie was somewhat of a letdown, but the ending was really cool. But you know, with the way that the third movie was written, they probably intended this just to be a trilogy. But of course the studio wanted money, so you know, they probably just left it open at the end just in case somebody wanted to continue, and continue they did. And with the fourth movie, I just been irritated ever since. The characters, plots, and motivations don't always make that much sense. You know, I thought in the third movie we was gonna get the detective, you know, and what he, you know, and Amanda torturing him and stuff like that, but that was into the fourth movie and we really don't see that much of it. And it's just kind of like they kept skipping around timelines and they kept changing not so much the narrative, but the backstory continuity of it all. Because in the second movie, John specifically says exactly why he's doing all this. Then come the fourth movie, they did a slight retcon that shows, oh wait, he didn't start torturing people, because remember in the second movie he said he got cancer, he tried to kill himself by, you know, plunging his car off a cliff, but he survived and he realized, you know, he did not appreciate his life and neither does other people. So he wanted to give people a reason to live and not try to off themselves like him or mess up their lives. That is why he did that. It was a very interesting and intriguing premise. Then in the fourth movie, they changed all that by saying it's because his pregnant wife at that time suffered a miscarriage because a man opened the door and the door hit her in the stomach and caused her to bleed. And then he stalked that man and created his first trap. And I'm all like, wait, that's not the same thing that happened in the second movie. I'm all like, okay, fine, whatever. Now, they have yet again retconned the reason why John did all this, who his first victims were, all this other crap, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, you know, I don't need three backstories on why this man did what he did. I'm just going to stick with the second movie backstory because that was the most intriguing. And, you know, then, of course, you know, you had the whole Hoffman thing, which I didn't like. And then all of a sudden his wife was a part of this, which I didn't like. And it's just he had all these disciples and everything. And it's why exactly? And, you know, it's just one of those things that it was just I'm done. And then they kept adding on the gore a whole lot more, which, yes, that is part of these movies. But that's not the only thing. There's supposed to be an actual story. And they kept losing their narrative and I lost interest. And so because of that, I just haven't seen none of the latest installments. Now I have heard Saw X is pretty good, but it's in between the first and the second movie. So I'm all like, did they break continuity? Did they not? Is this a new universe? I don't want to have to do all that crap, you know? And plus it's kind of weird because if it is in canon, the two lead actors don't look the same no more. You know, these movies came out, what was it? The early 2000s and stuff. So yeah, they look very different. And then we have this movie that's set about 10 years after the last movie, Saw 3D. No, wait. Saw 3D came out in 2010, so it's been 7 years since, like, you know, the last Saw movie when it comes to this movie. But in the movie they kept saying John Kramer died 10 years ago, so whatever. Anyway, and so, like, I just always find it weird that they're continuing these movies without the main antagonist. Like, he's dead, but yet he lives beyond the grave because people are finishing his work. Apparently, he had so many traps made and so many victim names and this and that. And they're desperately trying to keep the franchise alive. And it's just, I don't believe that this man had this many traps set, this many victims, stalked this many people while dying of cancer, of all things, when he should be laying in like bed, being sick and throwing up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very much disbelief. And, you know, but then I heard, you know, one of my favorite actresses is in this movie. And I'm just like, you know, I got the streaming site. I might as well watch it and stuff. And that is Laura Vandervoort. Now, what really pisses me off is that when you go to Wikipedia, you know how, like, the very top part of the Wikipedia tells you exactly who's in it, like the main star, or you go to the side thing, the little bar, and it says starring. Her name is not listed here. I call complete BS on that. You have to go all the way down to the bottom to find out she's even in this movie, and yet she is one of the main people in here. Not only that, but she's been acting since she's been like a kid or a teenager. I first saw her in Goosebumps. Then I saw her in Smallville when she played a version of Supergirl. And, you know, she's that is one of my favorite actresses. I don't appreciate them pissing on her on Wikipedia and stuff. Then I found out Clyde Bennett is in this movie, and I've seen him in some stuff, and I like him as an actor as well, so that's kind of cool. And I had no idea Mandela Van Pebbles is in this movie. Now, I do not know who he is, but I know who his dad is and everything. I've seen him, Melvin Van Pebbles. No. His father, Mario Van Pebbles. That's it. I've seen him in the third Highlander movie. He was the main villain. That dude was funny like I don't know what. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, maybe the story's not that bad. You know what I'm saying? But then I'll think, wait, hold up. It's been since 2017, and there's never been a real true follow-up to this because Spiral is more of a spin-off and everything. So I'm thinking to myself, this movie must not have done well. And well, when I watched this movie, I realized something. One, I realized that this movie is basically Saw 2, but with a much weaker premise. And Saw 2 is my favorite Saw movie. And so since this movie tried to replicate Saw 2, it just irritated me and everything. And then, to make matters worse, they added in a touch of Saw 4, which kind of, like I said before, retcons some stuff. I don't get it. I really just don't get it. And it's just kind of like, it's a weaker version than Saw 2. And I feel bad for Laura and some of the other people in here because they don't deserve to be in such a lackluster movie. Now, if this movie didn't have the name Saw in it, and it was no way whatsoever canon to, well, actually it doesn't even, yeah, it has Jigsaw. But anyway, if this movie was not canon to the Saw franchise, then it would be a pretty decent and pretty good, like, you know, horror movie and slasher movie and stuff. But because this is part of the Saw franchise, it is a weak entry in that of the Saw franchise. It's basically them just trying to keep on to the IP and keep, like, you know, the memory of Saw alive and stuff like that. But like I said before, it's not a bad movie. It's just a bad Saw movie. And because of that, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth to the point where this movie just straight up irritates me. Oh, no. You got one of them people walking around the neighborhood trying to, like, sell crap. I hate when they go door by door. I don't never answer my door. And I'm going to have to start recording soon. So they don't hear me. Anyways, and so with this movie, it's basically like, you know, Saw 2, where they have a bunch of people hidden away at a place, and they have to go through all these traps. Now, some of the traps are pretty cool. I like the traps where it's like, there's a chain around their neck and it's pulling them towards the saw. But what I've noticed about this is like, when I first watched this, I didn't know what exactly the twist was. Now, there are two main twists in here that I did not see coming. One of these, and it's like, I'm all like, why are all like, the trap's so clean looking? Like, there's no grime, there's no grunge, there's no rust, there's like no nothing. They're just polished nice. And I'm just like, okay, 7 years, maybe whoever the new Jigsaw is, maybe, just maybe like, they're going for like, a different, more youthful vibe, and I'm just kind of like, but that takes away from Saw. And some of the traps I just flat out don't understand. Like, first you have the one where that woman has to get injected with something. There are like 3 vials, and one has acid in it, and one has a cure, and the other one's just a placebo. And so she has to plunge them into her skin to pick one, you know what I'm saying? Because there's like some kind of disease in her, or some kind of like virus in her or something like that, and she needs like the cure or some crap like that, right? And so the other one man who's kind of like a butthead, he just decides, all right, I'm gonna inject you all 3 of these. And so when that happens, all the traps stop, because it's kind of like everybody gets punished at the same time, kind of. So once that stopped, I'm just kind of like, well, hold up. She didn't even like, take the test and everything, because somebody else did it for her. And so that's all it took, was just like to plunge all those in her, and it ends the trap. I'm like, what kind of amateur is this? And then there was like a trap where like a lot of these traps just so happen to happen because of plot armor, convenience of the script. And like, okay, say the second trap. Remember after they escaped the first one? And then you get to the second one and it's pulling them towards the thing. And so the black dude sees a recording device in like a chair. So he walks on over and he grabs it, and that stops the trap. Now, what if he didn't see that? Then they would have been dead. Also, what if he would have failed the first trap? The other chains aren't long enough to go where he went. So that is just the most convenient thing ever. Then a second time something like that happened to him. He grabs another tape recorder, and the moment he hits play, there's like a rope, just so happens to be underneath his feet, and it hangs him upside down for the next trap. And I'm just like, well, what if he wasn't standing in that spot? What if he walked around, because then they was free to chain. What if he walked around and then boom, the rope didn't get him. So how is he supposed to like, stop that trap? Also, that one spiral trap with the red in it, I don't know what the heck that was. And, so basically, in the beginning of this movie, there's a guy, he hits like a button that looks like a remote detonator. And he's all like, the game has begun or some crap like that. And he needs 2 more plays or something like that. So these cops shoot him. They literally blow his hand off with the bullets and stuff. And I'm just kind of like, that don't work like that. That just don't work like that. Your hand ain't gonna go splat. But anyway, he's alive in the hospital. They're doing medical stuff on him. And we see with the first trap with the bucket on the head, that I guess the first dude didn't survive. So they took the bucket off his head, and, they're examining him, and they found like a flash drive in like, his, somewhere they found it. I forgot where they found it. And, I'm all like, that was a convenient place where they found it. They found it within seconds of just looking at his body. So, one of these people in the movie is going to be a new Jigsaw. And honestly, the people in the trap who's playing the games, they're uninteresting. Then you have like the cops, they're boring for the first time. Cops in the Saw franchise are never boring. You always have that one like, obsessed, crazed cop who would do anything to stop this. You'll have probably like a grumpy cop, and then you have one who's more level-headed and tries to calm everybody down. But these cops here are just all boring. Then the medical staff is just a medical staff, so you don't really think much about them until the medical staff starts to get accused of being like the person who's committing all this stuff. And so, like, as these traps going on, Jigsaw motivation is very interesting in this. Apparently, this Jigsaw wants revenge. And so I'm like, okay, they want revenge because of the death of a nephew. And so, like, then there is the weird possibility that John Kramer might be alive 10 years later in their continuity. I'm all like, no, I saw that man die in the third movie. There's no way in the world he is alive and stuff. But they kept trying to set it up like he is. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Then Jigsaw reveals himself, and it is John Kramer. I'm like, what in the world? No, you are dead. Did this just completely retcon everything and reboot it? Or is this like a twin brother we never knew about? Like, what the heck is going on? And so, like, I'm just completely confused. I'm just like, how the heck is this possible? And why is John Kramer, this version of John Kramer, a vigilante? Because normally what it is that, like in Saw 2, there were two Jigsaws, Jigsaw himself and the Apprentice. The Apprentice wanted revenge, and Jigsaw just wants to make people live for their life and all this other crap and correct themselves. But here, this John Kramer wants revenge for people who have done bad things, who have all let people die or killed somebody and stuff. And he wants them to confess. So each trap they have to confess or pull a lever or just something, you know what I'm saying, in order for them to live. And they've all done terrible bad things, especially the Laura, the character Laura plays. She did the worst thing by strangling her baby and then putting it in the bed with her husband, saying he rolled over on the baby. So I'm just like, when does John ever become a vigilante where he just wants revenge on the wicked and everything? That's not his MO. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? Then, we get to the point where the doctor person is starting to like investigate these traps. I'm like, he's a doctor. Why is he doing all this detective work? Maybe I misread something. Well, not misread, but maybe I missaw something. Then his doctor lady with the red hair is with him, and she's acting kind of freaky. Like, okay, either she's behind all this or they're trying to make us think that. Well, they're trying to make us think that. Here's my problem with that. I hate when movies do that. I hate when movies, like, they know for a fact somebody is not the villain, but then they tell the actor or actress, hey, just kind of look demented or whatever, try to look pissed off, try to look like you might be the killer or something like that, and, throw people off. And I hate when they do that, because then all of a sudden in the movie somebody acts or looks very weird, right? And so, in the biggest twist of them all, I just don't get this. Like, the person behind all this is like the doctor. And the doctor is Logan. Now, the problem with this is we don't know this character at all. And I mean at all. He's never been mentioned in none of the movies whatsoever. And apparently he's been there since the beginning because he's the one who misdiagnosed John. And they could have caught John's cancer early, but because of his stupidity, he messed up. So he got put in some saw traps. And so this is what the odd twist is that I didn't see coming. So I'll give them credit for this. Just like with Saw 2, events happen way before we thought they happened. These events happened before John ever did like Saw 1. So this is why the traps look all clean. This is why, like, the traps look the way they do. And the barn and everything. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I can get behind that a little bit, but at that same time, it takes away from what Saw is. So after he survived the trap and everybody else died, John saved him. And now all of a sudden, John knows medical stuff where he can like patch a person up and sew them up and everything, which that was never explained. And not only that, but you know, him and cancer, he was able to drag a 200-something pound man, which he's never been able to do before, but whatever. And so like, because that dude, you know, John saved his life and everything, just like Amanda, he became the new apprentice. Apparently, he helped John create all his traps. And I'm just like, no, man, that takes away from John. Because we know John's like, you know, an engineer and a construction type person. And he constructed all those traps. But now this dude helped. Not only that, but now it's kind of retcon that since this dude had medical training, that maybe he's the one who's been helping John medical wise and not Jim Gordon. Speaking of which, where the heck, not Jim Gordon, but that's the dude from Batman. But Dr. Gordon, like where the heck is he and everything? Like he was at the end of Saw 3D where we know he's been the accomplice doing all the medical stuff. Now this could probably be retcon and say that it's actually Logan who's been doing all this crap. And so like whatchamacallit? It's something. Oh, so Logan recreated all of John's first so-called traps, which this should not be the first trap because that one in Saw 4 should have been it. So John has a barn with his wife, and this is where, like, you know, they've been doing all the stuff. So this dude literally recreated everything piece by piece. We assume he was in the last trap until the laser thing, until it turned out his lasers were fake. And I'm just kind of like, oh, also the dude who shot like that guy with the detonator, that was him because he has military training and a sniper rifle and everything. And I'm just kind of like, nah, man, they're making this dude too perfect. Not only does he have like medical triage like abilities, not only does he have military like, you know, sniper type abilities, not only can he build stuff and everything, but he's also the new Jigsaw. Nah, man, if John couldn't do all this stuff, which at first we assumed he could, then why does this guy get to? And because these movies are now being rebooted in a way because of the Saw X, we're never gonna see this guy again. And I'm just kind of like, it takes away from everything we knew about the Saw movies. And I hate that so much. Also, if John and his wife owned a barn, why don't the police know about it? And why hasn't this place been sold? Think about it. If two people are murderers, and yes, I don't care what anybody says, John Kramer is a murderer. He sets up these traps and have all these people harm themselves and die. He is an accomplice to that. Cops should have literally like seized that entire barn, the house, everything. It should have been sold. So how did this guy get his hands on it? And all the trap. And this dude built every single last trap, rebuilt it and stuff, and fixed it up and everything. And it's just kind of like, I don't get that. I just don't get that. And one of the great things about John's inventions is that he uses spare parts. This is why they're rusty. This is why they're this and that. And the fourth movie ruined all that by having him very quickly build that one thing and then like all of a sudden building all these traps in the barn, because we literally see him build the bear trap with that guy Logan. So it's like, okay, at some point they wanted to do the rusty thing, but they decided to go all clean and like, you know, electrical with this, because it's a lot of like, you know, electrical stuff that just happens out of convenience with this stuff, like Billy the Puppet. His eyes glow red. So I just don't like this movie as a Saw movie and stuff. Now there are some things that could have fixed this movie, and there are other little things that irritate me. First and foremost, this version of Billy the Puppet looks terrible. His hair is too long and shaggy. So you mean to tell me that John first built this thing with long shaggy hair, but then as every year passed, he's all like, you know what, this thing needs a haircut. He looks too silly, his eyes glow red, and it's just ridiculous and everything. Another problem with this movie is too clean. Saw movies have a very unique, distinct look, a feel, a vibe, whatever you want to call it. These movies are normally set in dark lighting, at night, in a grungy kind of area, but everything here is clean. This barn does not look scary whatsoever. The bathroom from the first two movies looked scary. The house from the second movie looked scary. It was disgusting. It was deranged looking. This barn, because the reason why John made it so elaborate and so disgusting looking is supposed to psychologically freak you out before all the tests freaks you out. Here, everything's just clean and everything's during the daytime. And I'm just kind of like, nothing about this screams horror to me. Oh, by the way, there's a dude who gets hung in here, and there's a black woman who's jogging and sees him. She's actually an actress, and she's actually a stunt double lady. She's in Helsing season 4 and 5, maybe 3. I'm all like, really? Y'all couldn't give her more to do than just that? Anyway, back to the atmosphere of this movie. Everything's too clean, and not only that, but they took away the green filter from the original movies. See, one of the things about like Saw is that whenever you do like these tests and everything like that, everything is in a green lighting filter. This is supposed to give you a different feeling of the atmosphere you're in when you're watching it. It's supposed to somewhat like trick your senses and everything, your visual senses. Another thing that's supposed to help with the visual senses is that before the test starts, like say, the ones that do have like the timer, it has like a trap on your head, they will distort like everything around moving in like a blur, really fast, really jagged. It's supposed to set the mood and the vibe. It's supposed to let you know this is no ordinary horror slasher type movie. This is something different. It is supposed to put you in a certain state of mind that when you go through the rest of the movie, you're already hooked. This movie does not do that whatsoever. It eliminated both factors. The only time they ever really used a lighting filter was in like that first like test and everything. And they had like a blue light similar to like the bathroom. Well, here's the problem with this. This light is way too blue. Now, I'm going to show y'all some differences of what exactly I mean when I say lighting matters. See, here is the bathroom in this normal light. Not bathroom, but the first game in this normal light. It's blue, but it's very brightly blue, almost neon kind of way. Like it gives you a vibe, but it gives you more of a modern, youthful vibe. It doesn't give you a horror type vibe. It's just too bright. Now, one of the great things about the first movie, when they had that blue lighting in the bathroom, it was dingy. This is what a more dingier look will look like. It's still blue with a touch of green in it, but the color brightness of it has been toned down significantly. And it really gives you a different feeling. It's more drearier, it's more depressing. It lets you know that these people are in it. And here's a side-by-side view of it. You see the huge difference of it all and everything. Like the one with the dingier color palette looks more like a Saw movie. Now, the green filter. This is what a trap looks like when it's in this normal lighting. See, it's just ordinary, it's modern, it's dull, it's very boring. And like there's nothing that really screams horror other than what the person is going through. Now let's add that greenish yellower filter with a little bit of darkness to it. Do you not see the difference here? It puts you in a completely different state of mind than what the other one did. In the other one, it feels like more of just a realistic setting. Here, it's a realistic setting, but your mind, your visual like perceptives and everything has been altered to think that it's way worse than what it is. Now, one of the reasons for this green filter is because, the Matrix movies were restarting up back then and everybody was just loving that green lighting filter. The side-by-side comparison. You see, Do you see the difference? Which one are you gonna be more scared in? Normal lighting or that like almost demonic green underworld, like fiery type look that that you will probably see in like a fantasy movie depicting like the underground, like in Legend of the Seeker or something like that. The greenish one just has a more eerier, scarier vibe to it. So once again, this isn't a bad like horror movie. It's just a really bad Saw movie. Because the Saw movies are supposed to be, or the jigsaw person is supposed to be anywhere between 5 to 10 steps ahead. And yes, Jigsaw here was 5 to 10 steps ahead, but he was 5 and 10 steps ahead not only of that of like um but he was steps ahead of the audience watching. He's supposed to be steps ahead of the characters in there too, which yes, he did throw them off, but people were getting suspicious of him. So he didn't throw people off completely. The great thing about the original Saw movies is that not only were the characters in the dark the entire time, but so was the audience. There's always something that the audience missed. When there are clues, when Jigsaw talks, you're supposed to pay attention to everything very closely and stuff. And and things lead into like the next movies or the next couple of movies. They always come back around full circle. And this movie tried to duplicate that, but in a very desperate and odd, like turkey jerk kind of way. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.